So this video is a bit impromptu. There's no fancy lighting and my t-shirt's a bit, creased. But I want to talk about optimism within the AI space and in sort of business and in every industry at the moment. I feel like there's a lot of, well, rightfully so, a lot of pessimism, so to speak, about AI and taking jobs and replacing things. And I want to go over a few things, talk about some historical trends, and my sort of vision for where things are going to go. I want to add, no one knows where this is going to go. So my predictions and my perspective is as good as what it is. Take it with a pinch of salt is what I'm trying to say. It's not set in stone. No one knows. But I think we can use history to influence our thinking. I have a quote that I think Elon Musk said. It's on the channel art for this video. I have a quote that I really like that's on the channel art for my YouTube channel. And it is, I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. Because optimism and pessimism essentially they're biases. Optimism isn't right, and nor is pessimism. Both are not wrong, but both are biases. They're not right or wrong on either side. And with that, you essentially have a choice, okay? Understanding that both of them aren't right, someone that's pessimistic or someone that's optimistic, neither are by definition correct. So when you're presented with an opportunity to be pessimistic or feel optimistic, you do have a choice on what you feel. And I feel like, for me, I would much rather be in the optimistic position, not because it feels better, because I'm happy. Well, it does feel better when you're more optimistic, but because you actually get more done. You're more action-oriented when you're optimistic. When you're pessimistic, it's normally an excuse not to actually act on something or do something. Whereas when you're optimistic, you actually want to get things done. You want to do things. And statistically speaking, if you actually act on the things that you know you need to do, whether you're optimistic or pessimistic, whatever forces you to actually work on those things and actually take action, in my opinion, is the better option. And in my opinion, optimism is what genuinely creates action, whereas pessimism tends to give you an excuse not to do it. So I think by default, being optimistic, almost delusionally optimistic about everything, is the best way to go. And that's what I want to start this off with. Now, I've got into the trap over the last few years, this sort of mental trap of AI is going to take over everything. What's the point in even existing anymore when AI is going to do everything? Okay. The main sort of perspective this comes from is as a designer, as a developer, as a business owner. I'm a creative at heart. My skills are being used more and more by AI. AI can do essentially what I can do a lot quicker and might not be as good, but for most people it does the job. And that does strike a bit of fear and a bit of pessimism into you when you see that. But let's just roll the fucking... Let's roll the, I don't know what you call it, the time machine back a few years to the web boom, the dot-com boom, okay? And in the early 2000s, there was a company called Razorfish and a few others, and these were web design agencies. And they started, and very quickly, as the AI boom occurred, they occurred massive amounts of money. I think Razorfish was valued at $2 billion, which is someone that owns a web design agency as well as an AI agency called Crocs.uk. You can go check it out if you're interested. The idea of having a $2 billion web design agency is mental. All right, I wish I could have a $2 billion web agency. Fucking hell. But then 10 years later, after this massive boom of web design being like this new school, everyone wanted a website. Every few years, new tools were coming out, new frameworks, trends, website trends started to happen, so websites needed to be changed. As this started to happen, we had things like Wix and Weebly and all these different web builders online and WordPress. I remember Jake, my business partner, I think he's 32 now. He's quite a bit older than me, and he's been in this space since he was a little kid. A lot younger than me is when he started out in websites, and he remembers when the early days of WordPress, when it was like, oh my god, web design's over. Anyone can download WordPress and make a website, right? And what we noticed, actually, if you look at the size of the web design industry, it's continued to grow. Even to this day, right this second, the web design industry has still continued to expand in market value. Now, let's map this onto AI, because essentially AI is a similar sort of industry changing perspective, right? We've gone from having professionals that can build software, design tools, write content, to now having a tool that can do it itself a lot better, and the everyday person doesn't need loads of technical skills to use it. Very, very similar to your Wixes and stuff when they came out in the web design era. However, it had a very different effect than what we expected, or what people at the time expected. I'm not going to say we as if I was like not like a toddler at that time or even alive, all right? I am young, all right? But what actually happened was that it gave the everyday person, the everyday business owner, access to these tools. Anyone could, in theory, build a website, which meant that more people did. More people tried to build a website, and they realised it's actually harder than it looks. And even if you get through the technical side, especially back then, things were a lot more complicated. Once you got through that, you still actually have to, make it look good and professional. And what it then did, people would build it themselves and then go, this is quite difficult. I could do with a professional. Or the people that couldn't afford web design initially, who never had a website, could now affordably get a website. And then once their company grew, they were like, right, we're going to get asked for a professional. And what it meant was, it's essentially a marketing hack, but it wasn't, because it wasn't, propagated by any agency. But it was essentially a free marketing tool for web design agencies, because everyone was using Wix and WordPress and all these tools and being like, right, I've got a basic website, but I could do with a better one. Let's go to professional. So you basically you basically expanded the market massively by giving these tools to everyday people. The same with, we have a shop in the UK called B&Q, very similar to Home Depot in America. The idea is it's like a DIY store. And at the time, the idea was that this is basically going to replace a massive amount of trades, like bricklayers, and well, not bricklayers, but like decorators, because instead of having to go to a decorator who has contacts with suppliers and all this, you can go to a shop and you can buy paint and you can buy all the equipment, all the tools to do it every single bit yourself. All right. But what happened? People did and realised, this is hard. I can do the odd little paint job, but if I want a proper wall doing, I now understand a bit about it, and now I want a painter to do it because I want it to be the best it possibly can be. And the exact same thing happened. 50% of Home Depot and 50% of B&Q's actual customer base is trades themselves. The same thing with WordPress, the same thing with Wix. The majority of people that use WordPress and Wix and Webflow and Framer aren't everyday consumers. They are designers and professionals themselves that actually use the tools to mean that they can offer better products at a cheaper price. And I think, not exactly, but almost the exact same thing is going to happen with AI. More people have the ability to use Lovable to build software, to use AI tools within all the different web builders to build websites, to create content. But once they've done that, and they've made a bit of money from it, and they've realised, this is cool, they realise, I actually need an actual developer who actually knows what they're doing to do it. We noticed that ourselves. I'm a developer, but I'm not the most clued up completely. I can't on my own create my own SaaS product and just launch it. I'm not at that level yet. I don't intend to be. I don't think my destiny is in being a developer. My destiny is in business. But I do have a lot of very strong technical skills, which is helpful, right? And my business partner in my SaaS company, a little project we're working on for Amazon sellers, we started with Lovable. He built like a basic front end on Lovable. I've put it into Cursor, and a mix of using AI and my own skills. I've been building out an actual web app with the original little basic page that he created. We're basically building an AI-generated products research tool, so you can find optimized products to sell on your Amazon stores. Very cool products. I'm going to have more information about that soon. And then we built it, and we built a basic MVP, and we've shown some clients, and people like it. We've got like 60 people interested in it. But guess what? We want to build this into an actual app that people can use. It's scalable, it's secure. We can't do that. So we, 5 years ago, would probably have never even bothered with the SaaS products. We'd have just gone, you know what? I'm not paying $100,000 for developers and all this bullshit. Forget it. Maybe when I've got a bit more money and a big audience, that's when I worry about building software products. But because the barrier to entry, not the barrier to launch, the barrier to entry is super low now. So we could build a basic front end. I have skills with JavaScript. I can mess around with it. I can build stuff with it that works. So we did that. And now we're looking for a developer to actually fully build out and check the system's ready to launch. So we're paying developers now or we're going to soon, that would never have got work from us. We did never work with a developer. We'd have no reason to, because, you know, in the past you'd have had to spend hundreds of thousands on, you know, a big development team to build this SaaS product, whereas we built it ourselves. Luckily, I run a web design agency, so I have my own servers and stuff that we can use. But we'd never, ever, ever, ever have worked with a developer to build something like this if we couldn't have at least built the MVP to prove to a small group of like 60 users to see if they're actually interested. And we know that they are now by using this basic lovable MVP. So now we can go to a developer and pay them that they would never receive money in the first place. That's a real life example of the exact thing that happened with websites, and I think it's going to happen with AI. Whereas if you're a specialist, I think, or at least good at what you do, where essentially AI is opening up all these opportunities to companies and people that would never have even bothered with software, with all these different industries, with product photography. I've just made a video yesterday about a product photography image generation system. You can go check it out. It's a pretty cool video. Now, that is going to replace some agencies. A lot of companies will opt in for that. However, once certain companies, especially smaller agencies, use our systems to create images, they're eventually going to go, you know what? I actually want an actual photographer to do some of our high-end products because I want the images to be even better. And that's when they'll go to a real thing. Now, that's not to say that jobs aren't going to get replaced and there's not going to be massive shifts in industry. I do think a good chunk, maybe 80% of a lot of industry is going to be wiped out. But if you're like me and someone that likes to be good at things and likes to win and wants to be the best, we're in a pretty good position, because as long as we can stay ahead with our skills and we can be dynamic and agile and use these AI tools. I know so many creatives and people in the web design space that aren't using AI in any part of their business, even for outreach. They're doing everything manually. They're so afraid of AI because they think it's going to replace their job, but they're not even using it. When you could be taking advantage of the fact that everyone now can build a website on Lovable and launch it and realize this is shit, I could do with an actual developer to go through this and make it better. And, you know, we've worked with, in my agency, we've worked with like Ford, Nissan, massive companies who need really specific features and stuff on the website that AI could never do. That's so unbelievably specific to their use case. And there's no drag and drop solutions for it. So there's still a market for that. And because AI tools are more and more available, people are going to be messing around. My mum is messing around with AI, and she is like a complete technophobe. And she's now opened up to an entire industry where she might want a little software bit. She might mess around building a little stupid app on Lovable. I want to show a Lovable one day, and she might, I could do with an app for my company, right? And then she's going to maybe think, well, I could do with a developer to do this. She'll probably use me, but you get the point I'm trying to say. I think, in closing, this was a very impromptu video. It's just something I wanted to get off my chest. It's very easy to get pessimistic with AI, especially when you follow AI news. And that's probably my biggest advice. Don't follow AI fucking news. Sign up to the mailing list for like OpenAI. I really like Nick Sarev. He's pretty good. And Liam Otley. But in general, like, sign up to the direct mailing lists from like TLDR, OpenAI, Anthropic if they have one. And get the actual news from the AI companies. Because that's not as dystopian. You actually just learn about the models that they've released. And you go, oh, this is cool. Let me try this out. And like people like Nick Sarevs, they're actually just interested in AI, and they're not trying to like scare the living shits out of you. But if you follow just general social media and news about AI, you'll open your phone every day and think the world's gonna end, right? You need to stop looking at that shit, and you need to start being more optimistic. And I'm so glad I got out of that trap a few months back. But it's weird because I was still working on AI while being super pessimistic. It was a bit weird. But this was about 6 months ago. But I'm very glad I managed to pull myself out of this stupid fucking trap of, the world's going to end. Like, maybe it does, but I'd rather be doing something that I enjoy and making money off it and growing my business, and then the world ends, than just being miserable the entire time and achieving nothing. Because the bet I'm making is that the world doesn't end and things get better, for some of us at least, and I have the things that I want when that happens. So, yeah, in closing, be optimistic. And yeah, that's it. Again, this was very impromptu. There's no script for this video. I'm just waffling. Yeah, thanks.